All right, hi everybody. Good morning and thanks for taking the time to make it to this presentation. So look, some of you may already know me because we've had a one-to-one session, or I may have called you for a follow-up or regarding a query that you've had. And look, a lot of you are probably expecting Dan to be taking the session, and he was going to take it, but him and his lovely wife have just had a baby, so he's at home with mother and baby at the moment. So I'll be taking you through today's session. So look, as a short introduction, my name's Karen Tenbrook. I'm a Customer Success Manager at Buildxact. Look, my role and my goal is to help you use Buildxact to its full potential. I've been with the company for around 18 months, and in that time, I've really seen a massive growth in the company. When I joined, we had a team of 10, and now there are over 40 of us. With that increase in resources, you also see a massive increase in the quality, advancement, and the features of the product. So that brings me to today's objectives, as well as looking at some tips and tricks that you may not know. We'll look at some new features that have recently been released and some shortcuts which can help you to streamline your workflow. So look, a lot of the stuff you may already know, but it's a great way to recap that knowledge, and I'm sure you'll all leave with some tips and ideas that you didn't know. So look, we do welcome queries. Feel free to type your queries and questions into, there's a chat field at the bottom of the platform that we're using. It's a Q&A or a chat feature. I have my colleague Julian on hand, and he's going to help me with these questions. So at the end of the session, I will try and answer as many as I can today, but if there are any I can't get to, it'll be due to time constraints or complexity. I will get an answer to you via email. So look, let's get started. Just bear with me a sec. I'm just going to set this up. All right, so what I want to do in the first place is just run through a few of these features on the home screen. So the first I want to run through is this toggle button up here. So a lot of you may have been using the Buildxact new screen layout, and some of you may still be using the old screen layout, and you may have noticed there's a toggle button at the top here, so you can toggle between both. Now what I recommend is, if you can, go into the new screen layout, because eventually we will be changing it to this screen layout, and you'll want to familiarize yourself with it at this point when you can still toggle back and forth, and then because if you've lost something, you may just want to go back to the old screen just to find it. Now if you have lost this banner at the top here, all you want to do is log out of the system and log back in again, and that should bring this toggle button back up again. All right, now the next I want to go through is this menu. There's just a few features on this menu on the left that I want to go through. So this is what I call, it's called the navigation menu. And now I call this the backbone of Buildxact, because I find that there's a few features in here that if they're not set up properly, they can really just put a kink in your workflow. So the first thing I want to touch on is the My Business tab. And if you click on that tab, it opens up the sub tab. And I'm going to go through this one here, the business details. So what we want to do is make sure that we fill in the data here, because when you subscribe with Buildxact, there'll be some data in there that you just want to make sure that you update. So all the details that we put in here will go into the letterhead of any documents that you send out of Buildxact. So what you want to do is update this, put your ABN number in, and your legal business name, because by law you will have to have that on any invoices that you send out of the system, and also update the rest with your website licenses, whatever you like. Contact details, put as little or as much in there of your contact details as you like. Now another field that kind of gets overlooked a lot is this one here. So in the other settings, by default, Buildxact is set up with 14 days default invoice days. If your payment terms are different, feel free to update that to whatever your payment terms are. On the right-hand side, you've got a logo field. So update your logo in here. This will go, as I said, on any documents that you send out of Buildxact in the letterhead. This also goes onto the client portal. So the client portal is a fairly new feature, which I am going to touch on today as well. Now, underneath that is the ability to put in another logo. This one is just for the client portal. Now underneath that, there's a gallery. Now in here, these pictures that you upload in here will go to the gallery in the client portal. So you can put a little portfolio of some work that you've done so your customers can see it. And then underneath here, brand colors. So when you first subscribe, these colors will be gray. Now I've actually updated these with the slider to my brand colors, and that's what's going to show up in the client portal. So my colors are orange and yellow, and I'll show you what that looks like as we move through to that section in a little while. All right, so the next field I want to have a look at, it's another fairly new feature in Buildxact, is the leads section. So in here is the ability to track your leads and inquiries, and you can track them, you can set up estimates for them or mark them as lost. And if we click on this lead here, you'll see that you can set them up with all their details. And if you have a scope in mind, a project in mind for them, you can put the scope in there, client details, and then at the bottom, you can actually invite them to the client portal. And I am just going to give you a quick preview of what they will see. So when you invite them to the portal, they will get an email sent to them. And in that email will be a link where they can click on the link, it takes them to the client portal, it'll prompt them to set up a username and password. And when they log into the portal, this is what they'll see. So there's my logo has come through with my branding colors. There's all these tabs on the left here, so they can see any projects that are underway for them. They'll see any messages. So these are the messages here. So this is the message inviting to the portal. They can send messages back to you. And there's all these other tabs in here that will contain detail for them to check out in terms of the projects or anything that you've got underway for them. Now, what I would recommend before you send this out to anybody, set yourself up as a test lead in the system. So that way you can try this all out, and that way you know exactly what your clients are getting, and you can field any questions that they may have about it. All right, going back to Buildxact. So the other thing I want to have a quick look at in here is the catalogs. Now in the catalog section, we've got two sections here. We've got the price lists and we've got recipes. Now price lists, when you sign up with Buildxact, you've only got the Buildxact price list in here. Now this is set up as a placeholder to help you get started. So we do recommend that you would get your own suppliers and contractors price lists into the system. Now whether you import them in or enter them manually, with importing, you can import with a Excel spreadsheet. So you can ask your contractors or suppliers to provide you with an Excel spreadsheet, and then with a little bit of formatting, you can get that into Buildxact. Now I have got a combination of both. Two of these I've imported and one of these I've set up manually. And I just want to click on this one because I want to show you another newish feature that we have in here, and that is the ability to actually add a code. You can now have a area in here that you can add your item codes, and this does have a functionality in the project, and I will show you that. Or add one or two of these items to an estimate to see what to show you what that does. Another feature that kind of gets overlooked as well is the ability to add an image. So you can add images to your price list items, and once again, once you have an image in there and you choose this item for a project, you can then show these pictures to your customers on the quote letter and things like that. Once again, we'll have a look at that when we get to that stage. So the other thing that I want to go to in the catalogs is the recipes tab. So recipes, for those of you who don't know, in a nutshell, what it is just a collection of items that makes up one item. Now, when you sign up to Buildxact, you've got a My Recipes section, which is generally empty, and you can start setting up your recipes in that section from here. You can just start building your recipe, give it a description, and start adding your items. The other way that you can set up recipes is through the Buildxact ones. Now, there are 139 Buildxact recipes in the system. So what you might want to do is go through these recipes, categories on the left, and you can click on the categories and it shows you each of the recipes underneath that category. And you might say, look, you know what, these recipes, you'll open it up and you go, you know what, that looks pretty good. I might want to use that for a recipe of my own with a little bit of amending and editing of it. I would like to use that. But as you can see, you can't amend the Buildxact recipes. They are locked down. But what you can do is you can copy them. So you can create a copy, which will send it to your recipe list. And then you can go into your recipe list, open it up and amend it from there. So as you can see, I've got, going back to my recipe list, I've got a couple of copies of the Buildxact recipes in here. If I open it up here, I can amend it. Now, what I can do with this, I can change the description to something that I would like it to read. I can edit the items that are in here, edit the names, quantities, unit of measure, the price. I could, even if I wanted to, rather just delete the items I don't want and then add new items that I do want, fill in all the details. And then these buttons, every time you add a new item, it'll always end up at the bottom of the list. So I can use these grab bars, these 6 little dots, to actually move these items around. Now you'll see this functionality all throughout Buildxact. You'll see the green plus button to allow you to add new, red trash can to delete items, the 6 little dots to move things around. So wherever you see those, you can amend all that data. Now there is a third way to set up your recipes, and that is actually while you're working in an estimate. So when you're in the estimate, you may want to be setting up or using a recipe in that estimate. At the same time as you're setting it up, you could prompt Buildxact to save it to your database so that you can use it over and over again in other projects. And I will touch on that as we get into the estimating. Okay, so now let's get into some of the functionality. We're going to go and set up an estimate. Now, there are several different ways that you can set up an estimate. So first of all, you could just go into the Estimates tab and you'll see it shows a list of all the current estimates I have running. And I might want to start a new estimate by clicking the plus button up here. The other way I could set up an estimate is by going down to the Estimates tab and clicking on Templates. Now you'll see there's a whole bunch of templates in the system. These ones here, there are 10 in here that are the Buildxact templates, and they are locked, but you can create a copy of them. Now they may be more preferable to setting up an estimate from the Estimates tab because you'll see that they're more aligned to some work that you may want to do. So there'll be less editing that you'll need to do in these. You'll also notice there's a couple up here, extra ones. These are templates that I have added, and I will show you how you can set up your own templates as well. So that minimizes even more of the editing that you have to do. Now, the last way that you can set up an estimate is you can actually copy estimates. So you may be working on a new project, or you may have a new project very similar to one you've done in the past. So rather than reinventing the wheel, you can just go in and choose the project that you've done in the past, click the copy button. It will open up into a brand new estimate where you can update it with the new customer's details and estimate details, and then go ahead and amend it and edit it as per usual. Now, let's say we did want to create our own templates to add to the template list. What we'd do is we would go into either create an estimate from scratch or generate a Buildxact template or copy an estimate, whichever way you do it. You would go through and you would update all these tabs up here to look exactly how you'd want your template to look, so that every time you generate it, all these items are going to be in here already. Now, once I've amended all of this, I would go up to this status bar up here. You click on the status bar and you would just change this to a template. Now, if I go back to my list of estimates on the left-hand side, you'll see that previously I had 12 estimates in here. And if I now go down to my templates tab, you'll see I've got an extra, this third one in here that I've just added as a template, and just by changing the status of it. Now, I don't want to keep that as a template, so I'm going to open it up and I'm going to change it back to a draft. Okay, so let's actually just get into creating an estimate. I'm going to start a brand new one from the Estimates tab. We start a new estimate. Now, there are some mandatory fields when you set this up, so you'd put your description in here. The other mandatory field is a building type, and you'll see there's a few building types in here. If the one you want isn't in there, just type it in. You'll put your customer name, and I'm just going to use Jim. I'm just going to use one of my existing customers. Once again, new customer, just add them in there and it will add to your database. Now, there are some optional fields in here that you can choose, and then I'll just click OK. That's going to open up into a new estimate. And what I'm going to do is going to run through the tabs in this estimate from left to right and just go through a few tips and tricks in here. So first of all, the Estimate Details tab, be as descriptive as possible. What's the project about? How can I contact the customer? Where is the work happening? Now, the more detail you can put in here, the more it's going to save you time down the track. Now underneath here, this is where I set up some leads in the background. As I mentioned before, you can either set up the estimate through the lead, or you can set up a brand new estimate and then just link it to a lead. And you choose the lead that you have in the system, or it'll be a list of leads that you have in the system, and you can just add them. And then that will push that project through to the client portal so they can check it. Two other useful fields in here: documents. You can upload documents in here. Now they are for viewing only. They're great if you want to email anyone from this estimate. You can then attach these documents to that email from this estimate. Up here, a notes field. So a great way to keep a running notes of anything to do with this estimate. So maybe conversations that you've had with the customer. You type a note in there. It's going to date and time stamp it with the logged in users details, and then you can just continue adding from there. Okay, the next field here is your plans and takeoffs. So we're going to add some plans. You can do that two ways. Both these have the same functionality, either the green plus button to import them or this blue wording. You can either drag and drop your files into here, or you can just click and choose them from your computer files. Now, there is a high quality button here. You don't need to use this. It's only if you want them in color or if they're in poor quality. Otherwise, just click import. Because it does take a little while for it to come through anyway, even though I've only got 2 pages that I'm uploading here, but you can see that it is taking a little while for it to come through. So they upload and then it will convert them into the correct format. And then once they have uploaded, you'll get a little message asking you if you want to scale all your plans now. So you can do it from here. I'm just going to click cancel because I just want to show you a few things, just a few little items in the toolbar here. So first of all, you can see my plans come in the wrong orientation. So there's these buttons here to change the orientation of your drawings. You also have the ability to rename your plans. Now this is another field that I find gets overlooked sometimes as well. So you may have a list of 10 or 20 plans in here. By renaming them, it really helps once again to streamline that workflow. It makes it easier to use when you get to using those plans for putting your material on. So this blue edit pencil allows me to edit the name of this plan. Orange tick box to save that. Okay, so now I'm ready to scale my plans. So the orange ruler, I've got all these functions in here. I can just scale the plan that I've chosen. I can scale all unscaled plans, so anything that's left. I've scaled plans individually, and I've got a few left that are all the same scale, or scale all plans. So I'm just going to click on scale all plans, and it allows me to choose the plan I want to use to scale them all. And the first instruction here, draw a horizontal line on the plan below. So I'm going to zoom in. So we do recommend that you zoom in on your drawing just to get accuracy. And you can drag your drawing around with your mouse. I'm going to zoom in a little more because I want to get really accurate. Now, it doesn't matter if you can't see the whole line that you're going to draw, because you can drag the plan around in the middle of the drawing. So start drawing my line, click, let go, draw the line, and then drag my plan. It's going to ask for how long is that line. Click next, and it's going to ask for the longest vertical line. So I find that line here, recommending to do the longest line on the plan. And then what that's done, click finish, that has now scaled all the plans. I may have individual plans that I want to scale separately, so I can just choose them, go back to the ruler and just say rescale this plan. Now there's another little tool that I want to show you here, and that is the Cog Icon. Now there is a Cog Icon on just about every screen in Buildxact, so what I'd recommend at some stage, go through these Cog icons and have a look at the tools that you have in there, because this can allow you, for instance, this Cog icon is allowing me to actually print or email some of these plans and takeoffs. So at the moment I've got some plans in here. I can choose which plans I want to email or print off, and once I have some takeoff drawings in the system, I can do the same thing. So yeah, have a look through these fields here to see what other features are there. All right, now that I've scaled my plans, I'm now going to go to the Estimate Costings tab and start putting my material onto the drawings. So as I said, when you generate an estimate in Buildxact, it's going to come through with some costing categories. So this one, it comes through with 42 costing categories. And if you click open any of these categories, you will see that there's a bunch of items in as well. So this is where you want to go through and use all these buttons to amend and edit the data the way you want it to look. And you can do that with all these features in here. Now I'm going to stay in this section here, and I'm going to show you how the price list items will work. So I'm just going to add a new item to the bottom here. And what you want to do is you want to start typing in that field. And what the system does, it starts searching the price lists for that, that terminology. So what you've got here is a preview of what's in the price list. So if what you want is on this list, you just click on it and it populates that line. Now, if what you want isn't on the list, click on the little browse button. It takes you to all the price lists. And that's where you can choose to show items from all price lists, or you can click on the drop down and just choose the price list that you want to check. You can even change your search terminology if you're not finding what you're looking for. Maybe it's the terminology you put in here. But I can see here that it has picked up the item that I want. Now in Buildxact, anywhere you see blue writing, it's a hyperlink. If you click on it, something's going to happen. So if I click on that, it's going to pick up this item and it's going to add it to the line. So you see it's populated with a description. I've got my unit of measure and I've got my unit cost. Now here, this is that new feature I was talking about, which is the product code. Now if I click on that, it's going to give me a whole bunch of information about that item. It's going to show me there's an image attached, give me a description, price, etc. And there's a lot of other little functions in here. Once again, I recommend that you have a little play with that when you get the chance. So now I'm going to use this item on my takeoff tool just to show you how we can measure these items on these plans and also highlight a few of these features in this toolbar. Now with this toolbar here, you've got all these different shapes you can draw. The polygon for irregular shapes such as sloping ground and ceilings and going around irregular corners. The rectangle for doors and windows, an ellipse and a line tool. Now you'll see when I clicked on those, they turned light blue. So it just, whatever is highlighted light blue on this toolbar is what you are currently using. So I'm going to leave it on the polygon tool because it's got sloping ground. And I'm also going to, I'm doing the cladding on this. I'm going to cover the doors and windows because I can take them out later. So I might zoom on this just a little bit. Now I am going to do just one of these drawings. Obviously we recommend that you do the whole lot and then do any deductions afterwards, but I'm just going to do just this one drawing. Polygon tool, start in any corner and just click around, clicking in each corner as you go. And then to finish the drawing, you always finish on the green dot. Now you'll see this little label showing up against each drawing. You can switch them on or off, because sometimes they can get a little bit annoying depending on how many drawings you have on here. Now with this, I need to take out the doors and windows. The first thing I'm going to do is turn on the Deduction Tool, which is the, you see it's turned light blue, circle with a minus button in it. I'm also going to change the shape to a rectangle because these are doors and windows, just a regular shape, with the rectangle starting at any corner and drawing down to the diagonally to the opposite corner. Now you'll see that all deductions in Buildxact are grey. So if you're ever wondering where you're at with this, the deductions are grey. Now, what you'll notice here also at the top, you've got a total of the material that you've currently drawn. And as you'll notice that as I draw the deductions, it is minusing off that total. All right, as I said, we do recommend that you put all your cladding on first and on all your drawings, and then do your deductions afterwards. That way it eliminates that confusion of where you're at. All right, click accept and save. And then what that does, it'll hold that figure against that item. Now I'm also going to show you how you can reuse measurements. So we have a little calculator function here. I'm just going to show you a few little tools in there. So let's say, you know what, over this bricks item, I'm actually going to put some render. Now you can also just free type your items into the system and ignore the price list. That's another function you can do as well. I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to put in the unit of measurement and I might put in a price in here. And what I want to do is, you know what, I've already measured that entire surface area. I don't want to have to measure it again. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to, on the right-hand side, I'll see all the measurements that I've currently done. And once again, click on the blue writing. It'll populate with that formula. Click the equals button, and you'll see it picks up that measurement from the original item. Now, linking it like that also means if I ever have to change the original measurement, it is going to update anything that's linked to it in the same way. Another thing in the calculator is adding wastage. So I might want to add a little bit of wastage to this item. Click the 5%, click equal so it holds, and you see you get a little blue icon above the calculator to let you know that you've added wastage. Every time you do something in Buildxact, you get little icons showing up just to let you know. Now, the other thing is the P, S, and T buttons. I have seen people setting up separate categories to capture their prime costs or provisional sums. Now, you can actually do that in here by clicking these buttons. It will highlight these items in a separate section on the quote letter to your customer, and I will show you that. Now, with the prime cost provisional sums, 1 click makes it a prime cost, 2 clicks will make it a provisional sum. Now, this S button here, I want to highlight this as being a specification to my customer. So if I click the S button, I'll just do that on these 2 items just so you can see what this looks like. Once again, on that quote letter and in the specifications tab, because anything you hit with an S button here will end up in this specifications tab. Another thing we can do here, when we're finished with a section, there's some buttons up here: complete, not completed, and not required. When I finish the section, I hit complete, and it will turn green. When I come back in a few days or a few weeks to carry on with this estimate, I can see which sections I've completed and which ones still need to be finished off. Now, the other thing I want to show you in here was, I mentioned earlier about doing recipes from within the estimate. So I'm just going to show you how to do that now. So I'm going to scroll down once again to the bottom of this fixing carpentry section. I'm going to use the doors recipe because it is a really great example of how to use or help you to understand how the recipes work. So I'm going to add my new item. Then I go to this icon over here. This is the icon to either build a recipe from scratch or add a recipe. So I could actually just create my recipe from scratch here. And I'm going to just create a door. The unit of measure for the doors, so you'll always put an increment of measurement against this. So a recipe could be maybe you're setting up a recipe for a particular type of wall. So it's all the material and labor that goes into that particular type of wall. Or it could be for a wall, all the material and labor that goes into 1 linear meter of that particular type of wall. So in this case, it's going to be a door, and I'll just start adding my items that go into making up this door. So the first item will be the door, unit quantity will be 1, unit of measure will stay as inches, and we'll say that's $50. My next item will be the hinges. We'll say there's 2 hinges and an internal door, and we'll say that the unit cost of each of those is $5, and it will stay as inches. The next item is the architraves. I'm going to say there are 2 arcs in here, and I'm going to delete inches and start typing in 5.4, and you'll see there are links in Buildxact as well. And we'll just put a price against that. Now, the last item I'm going to add is the labor. Let's just say it takes an hour, and we'll just change that unit of measurement to hour, and we'll say that's $50. Oh, sorry, $60. Okay, so look, there's a lot more that you could add, obviously, to an internal door recipe, but I just wanted to use this as an example to highlight that even though your internal doors, the recipe unit measure is inches, you've got other increments of measurement within this. So all these items go into making up that 1 unit of measure. Now, to save this to your database in the background to use over and over again, you just click Save As. And what that does, it brings up this field here, and you could just name that and then save it. And that will be in your database to use over and over again. Now, to add it to your estimate, you click the Close button. Now, you'll see with the recipe, you only see the description of the recipe. You don't see the items in the background. Now, those items will expand out in the quote letter to the customer, and I will show you that shortly, but it also expands out when you convert this to a job, it will expand out those individual items. But you know you're using a recipe because once again, that icon has turned grey. Once again, Buildxact is telling you what you're doing. You've got a recipe against this category. So now what we're going to do is let's go to our takeoff tool and let's put some doors on that plan. I might just zoom in a bit on that. You'll see the toolbar has changed because the unit of measure is inches. It means I can only do a dot. So I'm just going to dot this a few times in here. And accept and save will hold that figure. And now what I want to do is I'm just going to highlight this again, just hitting these buttons just so you can see what these features do. I'm going to show you how you can actually use that recipe again, or even use the Buildxact recipes from here to create your own. So click Build Recipe again. Instead of creating a recipe, we're going to browse the recipes. And in here is where you would choose your recipe list, My Recipes or the Buildxact recipes. So I'm going to use the same example. I'm just going to use the doors. I'm going to grab one of those doors and you'll see that everything in here becomes editable. You can move these items around, you can change the descriptions, change everything, delete them, add new, whatever you like. Then if you want to save your changes, what you've edited to your own database, once again, click Save As, it'll save it to your database. But maybe you're setting up a recipe that you are just using for this estimate. You don't want to save it to your database because it's only for this estimate. You can just click Close. What that will do, it will add it to this estimate without putting it in the background, without cluttering up your database. And what we can also do is I'll just type in a quantity rather than putting it on the plan because I don't need it on the plan. Just tick these buttons again, once again, just to show you some data as we go through to the next step. Now, the other thing I want to look at in here is doing a request for quote. So this is where I want to get a quotation from my contractors or suppliers for some of these items or some of this work. To do a request for quote, tick the box, and at the bottom, whenever you tick something in Buildxact, you'll get this field at the bottom saying, what do you want to do with this item that you've ticked? So I'm going to do a new quote request. And here you just put a title. Underneath, you've got a deadline date. It's always 2 weeks from today, but I'm only going to give them a week to quote on this. And it picks up the item or items, because you can choose more than one, that you want a quote request for. Click Next. And you'll see that you have these, once again, blue tabs. If you click on them, something will happen. So you can either select the plans against this estimate or select the takeoffs. So I might grab this door takeoff that I did. And then underneath that, add attachments. This allows me to choose anything that's not actually against this estimate, but something from my own computer drive or something like that. I can add them from here. In the scope of work field, I'm going to type a description. I'm going to keep it generic because I want to send this out to multiple suppliers and contractors. So I'm going to keep it generic so that they don't know that each other is getting it, because you can send out the one quote request to multiple entities. They'll not know that each other is getting it because it blind copies them in. The other thing is, I may not want to type this out every single time, so I can actually save this as a preset. So I want to save the script to use over and over again. This is a script for doors. And if I set that up, the next time I come in to do a quote request on another estimate or another section of this estimate, brand new quote request, when I come to the scope of work field, there it is there. There's my preset that I set up previously. So this could be blank. I come up to this cog button here, click on that, and it populates with that script that I've set up. Click Next. Then you just add your recipients. So if they're in your database, you just start typing their name and their name comes up and you choose them. If not, you can just start adding them manually. And also then you can add them. This green button will add them as a contact. Add them as a contact to your system to use over and over again. And then I'll just click Send. And you'll see once again, the system is letting you know you have a quote request out on that item. All right. So the next page you'll want to go to, or the next tab, sorry, is just go to the Request for Quotes tab. You'll see any quote requests out against this estimate here. You'll see them in this tab. And you can see your recipients and any responses that you may have gotten. And it's at this point, when you get the responses back, there's a chosen button here where you can just choose the winning contractor or supplier. All right, so the next tab is your specs tab. Now in here, these specs are the ones that I chose from the costings tab. So because I hit the S button against those items, that is what has brought them through to this field here. Now they are locked down. You can't edit these, but you can add images. So I have the images come through from this price list item because I set that up in the background. But maybe I want to add images from here. I can still do that. So I can just click on the image icon and it's going to take me to my drive where I can just choose an image from there. The other thing that you can do in here is maybe you don't want to hit the S button against these items. Maybe you want to add these items manually. So what you can do is the plus button up here allows you to add categories. Now this is really great for those of you that have got a standard list of inclusions and exclusions with your work. You can actually set this up as a preset to use over and over again. So I might set up a tab here called inclusions, and underneath that I'm going to put probably every single inclusion that I could possibly think of, because I'm going to set up a preset that I can then generate for an estimate, and then I can pick and choose. Once I've generated the preset, I can pick and choose which inclusions for that particular estimate. So I've got inclusions, and then I might add some exclusions. Do the same thing, click all my, add all the exclusions, save that. And then I might just delete some of these items because we don't need those. Because what you can do with these inclusions, exclusions, once you've set them up, you can once again save as a preset. And you'll name them for what they are. So you can have as many presets as you like. So what you want to do is name these presets so that you can then grab them afterwards. So for instance, might come in here and into a brand new estimate, let's say, that means there'll be nothing in here. So if we come into a brand new estimate, this field will be completely blank. And you want to generate that preset that you've set up, what you can do is just come into your new estimate, click on the cog icon, and you'll see those presets that you set up earlier. Click confirm, it'll pull through those items that you set up previously, and then you can just use the delete button to delete any items that aren't relevant for this particular project, and then use the plus button to add any items that are relevant to this project, and it's not going to affect the preset you set up in the background. Okay, so look, the last tab in here is the quote letter, and I just want to go through these three sub-tabs. So the first sub-tab is the quote body. So in the quote body, there is a script that has been put in by Buildxact. Feel free to update this to read whatever you would like it to read. You can also set up presets. Maybe you've got different scripts for different types of work. You can save them as presets as well. Now, another thing I see people doing is sometimes removing these what are called placeholders. So these items that are in square brackets in the quote letter, they are placeholders, and what they will do is they pick up information from out of the details tab of whichever estimate you're working in. So what that will do, whichever estimate you're working in, it'll pick up the customer's name from the details tab. So leave those in there, and you can also add more. So for instance, I might put my cursor on the end of this first sentence, and I could actually put in the works location. So that toolbar is just here. So I click on insert placeholder, and I can pick works location. It's going to pick up whichever address is in the estimate details of this tab. I could also maybe put in the quote total. So I could go down to the sentence here, for instance, go back up to the placeholder and put in the quote total. What these fields do is they personalize this letter without you having to do a thing. All right, the next field, terms and conditions. These have been put in by Buildxact. Feel free to update these to whatever you would like them to read. Now, I do have some people asking me also, they have a list of terms and conditions, like about 3 pages or so of terms and conditions, that they would like to send to their customers. Now, there is a way to do that, and that is back up here in the My Business Details area. If you click on that and then go down to Business Setup, you have a field here called Business Documents. Now, anything that you upload into here will be available for you to email out of any section of Buildxact. So all those generic documents, so a standard list of terms and conditions, you can just drop them in here. And then when you're ready to send or email that form from Buildxact, there'll be a field that allows you to pick up that document from this Business Documents tab. Okay, so let's go back into that estimate. And then the third tab in the quote letter field is the print options. This is where you get to pick and choose how little or how much you want to show your client, and that could be dependent on the job, it could be dependent on the client, and it could differ per situation. So this is where you just go through and choose what you want to include or not. So I'm going to include my specifications, but I don't want the numbers and I don't want an area for initials. I do want to include my quoted categories, but I don't want the totals. And that's switched off, obviously, the GST as well. And what do I want to include in those categories? I want the quantities, I want the measurements, I don't want the totals, and I don't want to show zero value items. So if you ever want to preview any documents, this is another thing that people sometimes miss, is this little printer icon. Wherever you see a little printer icon in Buildxact, you can actually preview your documents. So you can choose which format you want to preview that in. I'm just going to choose PDF. And if we view that, you'll then see this is the quote letter that's going to get attached to the email that gets sent to your client. So at the top here, I've got my logo, I've got all my business details that has been picked up from the My Account field in Buildxact. And in the quote letter, you can see it's picked up the customer's name from that estimate. It's picked up the site address, it's picked up the quote total. So all those placeholders are picking up all that detail. Now the next page, your specifications and inclusions. So you'll see there that picture that I included against my price list item and then added to the specs has picked up, and you'll see any pictures in the specifications field. And here are also my inclusions and exclusions. That's where they'll appear on this page. Now the next page, this is where it itemizes all those PC and PS items. So it does clearly show to your customer any of those allowances. And then the next page, this is all your quoted items. So this is where I chose to not show any zero value items, and because I didn't do very much in the estimate, I just added some bricks and some render and some doors. That's all it's really showing in here. But you'll see in here, as I mentioned earlier, those recipes have actually expanded out into the quote letter. So a lot of transparency in there in terms of the recipes. Now the last page is your terms and conditions and your quote total. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, how to do your estimating. So what I'm going to do, just the last thing to finish off this section, I want to show you where you can go to get help. So in this navigation menu at the bottom, there is an Explore button. So in this Explore button, you'll see that we have different features in here. So first of all, video tutorials. Now what we've done is we've got a whole bunch of videos to help you. We've got a few videos in there to help you run through the system. Now we have broken down the video into snippets to make it a lot easier to view, and then you can go straight to the video that you want to look at. Now those videos will take you through everything you need to know to get up and running with the system. Then once you get a bit more, once you get a bit savvy with the system, you may find that you've got some advanced queries that you want to get the answers to, and that's where you'll go to our FAQs. Now in our FAQs, we've compiled a list of our customers' most frequently asked questions, so you can have a look through there to try and answer off those more advanced queries that you have. And if you really need to speak to one of our support team, please do. Clicking on this will allow you to chat with someone from our support team who'll be able to talk you through any of those questions that you have. Now, a few other things in here that's really important to keep an eye on is the what's new. Now, any new features that are coming out, you'll see there's a little indicator here. It'll show you anything that's new in there. Click on it and it will highlight to you any new features that are coming out. So keep an eye on that. And then also feature suggestions. If you've got some ideas for us, things that you'd like to see Buildxact do better or improve or add, then please let us know. Now, if you click on the feature suggestions field, you'll see a whole lot of ideas that have been put in by other customers. Click on those ideas, and if they look pretty much like what you'd like to suggest, then vote on it. You can vote on these ideas, and the more votes an idea gets, then the higher in priority it goes. And if you can't find your idea in there, please put your idea in so that other customers can see it and vote on it too. Look, and that's pretty much it. I think we're sort of right on time there for going through tips and tricks in terms of the estimating. As I say, the only thing I can suggest is keep an eye on that cog icon, because there are a lot of little hidden gems in there that can really help you out. All right, so I think what we'll do now is we'll now go back to, I see you've got a few questions in there. So now we might just go back to Julian, who has been compiling those questions.
Hey guys.
And maybe go through a few of those. And as I say, I'll try and cover off as many as I can, but any that I can't, I'll definitely get back to you in an email.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. So we've got a ton of questions, so we're probably going to struggle to get through every single one of them today, but I've been taking them all down. So if there are ones that we don't get to today, or they're a little bit more complicated in nature, we might need to speak to you directly, we'll reach out and we'll endeavour to get through all of them. But I'll go through some of them. Everyone can hear me, I'm assuming, perfectly fine? So the first one we've got here is, hi, just wondering how you can make an estimate a template, and that's from Jackie.
An estimate template? Yeah, sure. So we can just, in any estimate that we're working in, once you set it up to look the way you want it, there's a status bar at the top right of any estimate that you're in, regardless of whether you create that estimate from the Estimates tab, from here, or from the Templates tab. You can generate a template in here. Whichever way you've done it, it's always going to look the same. There is, once you're in the estimate, there is a status bar at the top right. At the moment it says draft. You can change the statuses, but at the bottom, template. As soon as you do that, it will then move into the Templates tab at the bottom. And then to generate a copy of that template, you click the plus button. So when you've got your own templates in here, a lot of people are tempted to click on this blue button to open up the template, but if you do that, you'll use the template that you've created for a project. You don't want to do that. You want to click the plus button to generate a copy of that template, and you'll see there allows you to open up that template, add all your details, choose what it is from the template you want to use, and then click OK, and it will open up into a new estimate.
So we've got one from Pierre here as well. Can you send multiple quote requests at once to several different trades across categories, multiple categories? Yeah,
absolutely. So if we go into that estimate, as I mentioned before, as well as being able to send it to multiple people, you can choose multiple items. So I might just, click a whole bunch of items in here, and then I might go to another section and click in there and choose some items. And you'll see at the bottom, it says new quote request for 5 items. So I've chosen multiple. And if I open up that quote request, obviously it's giving me an error because it needs to have a quantity against it. But when I go to the next field, the next button, it gives me the opportunity to actually choose multiple suppliers and contractors. So in the send field, you can just type in the email addresses or choose them from your database. And they will not know that each other is getting it. It does blind copy them.
Cool, so follow-up one from Pierre as well. When in the middle of an estimate, can you copy and paste categories from a different estimate?
At this stage, that isn't possible, but it is something that we are working on.
Okay. Go on from Ross here. How do you delete a document if you put it in the wrong job?
I probably need to get back to you on that one because I'm not quite sure what that means, because there's many ways that parts of a job that you can attach a document. I guess if you're talking about the estimate details tab, there will always be next to the document, there'll be a delete button that you can delete that out.
Yeah, I think that one came at the beginning of the when you were going through that, Karen. So I assume that's probably what it's in relation to. Can we move plans around when they're uploaded if they come in the wrong order?
No, there's no way at this stage to move the plans around. They will come in the order that they do, and they're at this stage no way to move them around.
And one here from Jeremy: if we have a revised drawing, can we upload that single drawing rather than uploading all the plans again?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got these plans in here already, and then if I want to add more, I can just go once again, just choose plans. I've only got one set of plans in here, but what it will do, it will import them, and it will just add to the ones I already have in here.
Yeah, so then you just delete the one that you don't want.
Oh, that's right. Look, yeah, absolutely. You can go through. There's a little delete button on this toolbar here that allows you to actually choose the drawing that you don't want. So I might say, look, I don't want that one. I can just delete that. That will just delete that individual drawing, and then you've still got those other ones in here. If you want to delete the whole lot, it's in the cog icon. You can just delete all here and start again.
So one here from Chris: is there any scope to use a takeoff tool when scheduling quantities when the job is in construction and out of the estimate? Because the plans can change a lot between tender and construction.
All right, that might be something I'll have to touch base with you on, just to get a bit more detail about that.
Okay. Would there be any reason that if we send a quote request out to subbies that they're unable to download the plans?
No, only if the deadline date has been reached in that quote request. If the deadline date's been reached in that quote request, they won't be able to access that anymore. So in the quote request, there is a download button. When the attachments are in there, there is a download button to the right, and we do recommend that they would download those plans to their own drive, and then they shouldn't have any issues. When that deadline date's been reached, they can still view the plans from their own drive.
Cool. Is it possible to have a print out plans showing all the takeoffs and legend in one drawing?
At this stage, no. They do come up as separate drawings.
Okay. In the client portal, can you include consultants as well as clients?
If they set up as clients, yes.
Is it possible to also have a 1 to 100 scale plan and set up a 1 to 200 or 1 to 50 also?
I probably need more detail on that, but yes, there is in our. I believe you might be talking about plans that have no dimensions. I'm not really sure what that question means.
I think it's referring to maybe having multiple scales of different plans.
Oh, absolutely. You just then go through and scale these drawings individually. So I chose to scale all plans, but what I want to do is rather, if they're all different scales, then I would just choose to scale each plan individually.
Cool. Can you lock the specification to match the order of the estimate list?
I believe it does come through in the same order as the estimate list. But if it doesn't, look, at this stage, there is no way to change that order unless I believe there might be the reorder buttons here. If they're not coming through in the same order as they were coming from the estimate costings, you could use these reorder buttons.
Yeah, you can set a template up with your specifications to fit how you want to have them laid out, and then if you're adding anything in manually, then they'll come across as well.
Yeah, look, if you are generating, the thing is, if you are generating this template, I would recommend generating that first and then going through to your estimate costings tab and hitting the S button on those. Because I believe if you generate the template after you've got items in there, it just overwrites what's already in here. So you do have to kind of work backwards. Generate your template first and then hit the S button in your estimate costings.
Can we see a copy of what suppliers or contractors see in their email for the quote request?
Yes, I believe if you go into the quote request field, you should be able to have a look at what is in there.
Yeah, so you'll be able to see what actually gets sent, but you won't be able to see it in the format that the subby.
No, not in the same format, but in here there's multiple different ways that you can have a look at the quote request.
Yeah, I mean, you could always send a test one out to yourself.
Well,
as well.
Actually, you click on the quote request number, it shows you in there.
Yeah.
What's being sent.
Can you select multiple items from the price list and drop them into the category of the estimate rather than one at a time?
At this stage, it's one at a time.
Okay. Just think if we've got any more new ones come in since I've last looked. Just anyone that is asking, this is being recorded. So yeah, we can, once we've had some time to sort of edit out the start and stuff, we can send this out. So yeah, don't worry about that. What is the purpose of a lead and what are the benefits?
A few customers have asked for the ability to be able to track leads and inquiries. So it's literally just a way to measure the success of your work, I guess, or how many leads are actually being converted into work.
Cool. I think that's most of what we've covered off already. Has anyone else got any other questions that we haven't gone through yet? So there are some questions in there, guys, that we just need a bit more information on. So we will get back to you on those ones. So if I haven't answered them, you know, that is why. Just we'll probably need to speak to you one-on-one. So one here from James: can you separate a recipe out for quoting?
At this stage, no.
I mean, you can go in and edit the recipe, but it won't fully show in the quote. I think that's, Jamie's asking about a cover letter in the quote. So can you show us how to add the cover letter again, please? So I think that's just the intro.
Sure. So if we go into that estimate, it's estimates, and then you go into the quote letter, and then you've got these three tabs. It's the quote body. So in here, as I said, this the way I've got it set up at the moment is this is the script that Buildxact has put in here. So I can just go ahead and I can update this here, and then that moving forward, whatever script I've put in here is what will generate in any new quotes. And if you want to set up different scripts for different types of work, I would just type something in here, add my placeholders, then go up to the Save as Preset button, and I would save that. So maybe this is, you know, a script for a reno. And then I could just click Save and Close, and then delete all this out, type in a new script, go up to the cog icon, and you'll see it'll just end up under the list over here. You can have as many presets as you like. And to generate the preset, you just click on it. And it will should populate that field with that whichever preset that you've chosen.
So Brody's asked, is there a way to change the order of the quote? To have the quote title first and then specifications afterwards, for example?
At this stage, what we have got for you is the ability to actually generate this in a Word document or an Excel, which you can then edit yourself and send out of your own system. But at this point, generating it from Buildxact, it does do it in the order as shown on the PDF.
How can you lock one of your own templates like the Buildxact ones?
At this stage, I don't believe there is a way to lock the templates.
I don't think there is at this point.
No, but that is why I do really reiterate to people to not click on that. And if anything, what I'd recommend that you do is create 2 copies of a template. So that way if someone accidentally clicks on this and uses it for a project, you have still got that copy in the background.
Yeah, you can put things in like in the description, like do not touch, just to highlight that even further.
Yeah, so I would just change the name of that. So I could update that to say master copy.
So we've got a few more minutes, guys. So when you activate your client into the portal, when they email you, will this be saved into Buildxact? But
when they email you, they can send messages through here. So yes, that will end up back in Buildxact.
So I think we already went through this, but just in case I missed it, can we use a takeoff tool in scheduling quantities when jobs in the construction stage now at the estimate? I think we already did.
Yeah, that's the one I just need to get a bit more detail on, yeah.
When you do a takeoff, you select lengths of walls, etc. Timber comes in set length, so it is up to suppliers to allow the correct length. So I think it's just the way that you do the measurement.
Mm-hmm.
We can come back to you on that one, Alistair.
Yeah.
Probably running out of time now, guys. I'm not sure if Karen, if you want to take a couple more or.
I think I'm just out of time now. I don't think I'll be able to do any more, but definitely keep those questions coming in because I will touch base with you on those questions.
Yeah, I've got them all saved here, guys. So we'll get back to everyone individually once we've got all the answers there. Like I said, some of them just take a little bit more, kind of more of a one-on-one chat regarding those. Cool.
Yeah.
All done from my side, Karen.
Yeah. Hey, look, thanks so much for attending, everyone. Sorry, I've just gone a little bit over time. So we are running another webinar next week, which is tips and tricks around job management. Look, so please tune in because Jim decides that he wants to go ahead with this estimate that I've set up because it looks so great. He's going to go ahead with that job. So tune in so we can go through some of those tips and tricks and ideas. All right, thanks so much for your time, everyone. And I'll get back to you about those any questions I didn't answer or any clarifications.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.